So recently Straits Times came out with an article talking about why many people think over $600,000 is enough to retire on. In it, the article talks about, oh no, give me a second. In it, the article was talking about a Singlife poll which was conducted in 2024, where they asked respondents how much they need to have in order to be considered financially free, and they ended up with $612,000. Coincidentally, DBS also came out with another report which suggests that retirees should build a nest egg of at least $550,000 in order to have a basic retirement lifestyle. This puts it pretty close to the $600,000 from the Singlife poll. Interestingly, when I tried to run my own poll, almost 80% of people felt that $600,000 is not enough. Instead, you will need $1 million or even more in order to retire comfortably. That's why in this video, we will try to find out if you can actually retire with just $600,000, or do you really need over $1 million in order to retire? And if so, how can you achieve these huge amounts? But before I start, do join my 10,000 members Telegram chat group to discuss or ask any questions that you may have. Now, even though Singlife didn't exactly explain how they arrived at this $612,000 amount, this number sounds about right. Because Mr. Tan from Straits Times calculated that with this amount, a person would be able to draw down $2,500 every month to pay for his or her expenses from when they retire at 65 all the way till 85. As to what happens after 85 years old, I guess they can only eat air, drink rainwater, and touch grass lor. Just aside, most Singaporeans agree that financial freedom is important. However, because of how large this $612,000 amount sounds, almost half of them believe that they will never be able to achieve financial freedom. When asked why they felt that way, the top 3 reasons were insufficient income, unforeseen health issues which could impact their finances, and job insecurity, where they felt that they could be laid off anytime. Also, almost half of Singaporeans believe that having children will delay their financial freedom plans by an average of 15 years. That's because they feel that this would cost them over $500,000 to raise a child until they turn 21, or basically the cost of one condo toilet lah. However, with that being said, personally, I feel that the biggest reason as to why so many of us believe that we will never be able to achieve financial freedom is because many of us do not really start planning for our retirement until much later on in life. In OCBC Financial Wellness Index 2024, it was found that among those who are in their 20s, only 41% of people only started making retirement plans. And as they get older, only then they will start to conjure about retirements and start making retirement plans. However, DBS found that even among those who have started investing, they tend to underinvest their money. For example, those who are between 25 to 34 only invested around 15% of their salary. Though, this is mostly unavoidable since at that age group, our salary tends to be lower, and because of that, we will have less disposable income to invest. But then, even when we look at those who are between 35 to 44, they are still only investing about 17% of their salary, despite having their salary already gone up. This is quite unfortunate because it is at this age where we will have the most amount of time to maximize the magic of compounding. Not just that, the longer we invest, the lower volatility risk that we will have. For example, if we only invest for 1 year, there's a high chance that we will see negative returns. But if we can invest for at least 10 years, there's a much higher likelihood of ending up with positive returns. Besides that, DBS also found that those who are in their 20s and 30s are also overly conservative in their investments, as they tend to allocate more than 50% of their investments into fixed income like SSBs and T-bills. Because of that, it's no wonder that many Singaporeans feel that they are unable to invest enough money to retire. Quick pause. Longbridge is currently running a welcome promotion, which is giving out a 14% interest booster for 90 days. Longbridge is a low-cost broker represented by Philip Securities Investment. It allows you to invest in the Singapore, Hong Kong, and US stock markets with minimal fees. For the Hong Kong and US markets, they are offering lifetime commission-free trades, making them one of the cheapest brokers around here. Besides that, Longbridge also offers user-friendly interface, free real-time data, company research tools, latest news, and more. New users who sign up to Longbridge now can enjoy a 14% interest booster for 90 days on up to $2,000 deposited into any of the Cash Plus funds. And if you deposit a minimum of $10,000 into the account, keep the funds there for 90 days while completing 5 buy trades, you also get to earn a free Apple share. Sign up using my exclusive link to enjoy another $18 exclusive reward. But then, how much do you actually need to retire? If you ask anyone, they will usually say,
it all depends on your lifestyle lor.
Which is like God say, but no say. Thankfully, we don't have to guess because there are various statistics for this. According to Household Expenditure Survey 2023, an average household that consists solely of non-employed persons aged 65 and over only spends around $2,300 every month. This is actually pretty close to the $2,500 money expense that Mr. Tan from Straits Times estimated earlier. Also, that's for the entire household. If you divide it by per household member, this number is even lower at $1,384. Now, of course, this is just the average, and it assumes that you're only living a basic lifestyle without all the additional expenses. Like, by 65, your kids should have already grown up and you no longer need to pay for the expenses. You also no longer need to support your parents, and you are living a healthy lifestyle without any high medical expenses. If you factor any of those in, then obviously your money expenses will be a lot higher lah. For example, if we look at an average household that does not only consist of people aged 65 and older, the average household expenditure would be a lot higher at $5,931. Though, it will also depend on what kind of income you are bringing in. Because if you are bringing in less money, your household would also spend less. And if you are bringing in a lot more money, your household would probably spend a lot more too. But that aside, how much money you need to retire also depends on what kind of lifestyle that you want to have. Like, if you are just living a simple lifestyle where you live in an HDB, only takes public transport, only goes to polyclinics and government hospitals, doesn't have a helper, and only travels to neighboring countries 2 times a year, then the $2,500 range is more than enough. But if you go and live in a private property, drive some atas car, go to private hospitals, have a helper, travel all around the world and always go for spas and massages, then of course you will need to have a lot more money to retire lah. But let's just assume that we will live a modest basic retirement and we will only spend around $2,725 a month. How much money would we need to save up then? Now obviously, we can't just save up this amount and slowly draw down from it every month because 1, we have no idea when we will pass away. Later haven't draw down finish, pass away then GG liao. And 2, seeing their savings slowly depleting can also be quite scary. Because of that, we will need to invest our money so that we can ensure that the money can continue to grow while not losing value to inflation. For this, we have the 4% rule. The 4% rule states that if we invest our money and only withdraw 4% from our portfolio each year, this amount should be able to cover our retirement expenses for at least 30 years. So using the $2,725 money expenses that we have gotten just now, we can multiply that by 12 months to get our annual expenses, then divide that by 4% and we will arrive at $817,500. This is the amount that we will actually need in order to live comfortably during our retirements. Now, of course, this is a lot higher than the 600k or 550k from the Singlife and DBS polls. But that's also because this $2,725 money expenses is rather generous and according to statistics, would have been able to fully pay for the entire household expenses when you and your partner have already retired. So then, how can we even save up this amount? Thankfully, we don't have to actually save up this much. That's because a huge part of our retirement expenses have already been taken care of by CPF Life. If we can achieve the full retirement sum in CPF, we will actually get a payout of around $1,500 to $1,600 every month, starting from the age of 65. This means instead of having to account for $2,725 worth of money expenses, we can actually account for lower amounts, right? Well, yes and no. Yes, as in the 1.5 to 1.6k can indeed help to cover a huge part of our monthly expenses. But also no, because this amount is fixed for life and doesn't account for inflation. This means the longer you live, the lower purchasing power these CPF payouts will have. But nevertheless, this 1.5 to 1.6k will still help a lot when it comes to paying for monthly expenses. That's why it's super important that we achieve the FRS. One simple way to do that is by voluntarily topping up 8k every year into our CPF MA or SA. If you can consistently do that, you eventually hit FRS. Not just that, by doing voluntary CPF contributions, we can also reduce the amounts of income tax that we will have to pay. So that's nice. After that, the next thing that we can do is to start investing right now, so that our money will have more time to compound. In a podcast by the fifth person, they raised a good point about investing early, where if you had invested into some good dividend stocks back in 2008, you will not only experience capital gains when the stock have gone up, but you will also end up with a higher yield on capital. Or in other words, a good dividend stock will consistently raise their dividends over the years. This means the new dividend yield on your initial investment would have gone up and will greatly boost your overall returns over time. Not just that, by starting early, you will also get to learn how to be a better investor earlier. That's because by starting early, even if you had made a mistake and lost money, the good news is that you did not lose much.
Because you don't even have that much money to invest at the start anyway.
This allows you to learn from your mistakes at a much lower cost and build valuable investing experience without jeopardizing your financial future. Also, even though the fifth person used dividend stocks as an example, given that the future is uncertain and many of Singapore dividend stocks like banks and REITs are cyclical, it's always good to globally diversify your investments, such as looking to invest into the MSCI All Country World Index, where you invest in both the developed markets and the emerging markets. While the returns that you will get may probably be lower than just investing into individual stocks or S&P 500, global diversification helps you to diversify your risk while also reducing the chances that your investments will boom in a market downturn. Last but not least, another reason why many people think that they need more than $1 million to retire is because they simply have high expenses. Whether it's because they are spending a lot of money on their property, or food, or travel, or whatever. If you are earning a lot of money, then okay lah, this $1 million is easy to achieve. Otherwise, you would really need to start budgeting your finances. For this, DBS has recommended something called the flooring strategy to help you optimize your budget during retirement. So how this works is that you first have to identify what are your needs and wants. Needs are all your essential expenses, such as food, transport, phone bills, and so on. Then, your wants are your discretionary expenses, such as fine dining, vacations, leisure activities, gadgets, and gifts. Then, what you can do is match your income streams to your expenses, where you try to finance your needs with safe, predictable, and inflation-hedged investments, such as CPF Life and Singapore bonds, like SSBs and T-bills. This will ensure that all your basic expenses are accounted for by very safe assets. That way, you don't have to worry about market volatility affecting your essential needs. Then, for your wants, you can match them with higher risk investments where the returns aren't guaranteed, such as your dividend stocks, ETFs, and rental income. That way, if your investments do well, you will get additional income for your discretionary expenses. But if your investment doesn't do well, at the very least, your basic needs aren't compromised. So, those were some of the ways as to how you can save enough money for your retirement. Anyway, that's all for this video. Hope you found it useful. Like, share, and subscribe as I'll be posting new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.